Hi readers! Today I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review for Terry Goodkind's Children of Dhara. And yes, this is actually an entire series of books. There are 5 books in the Children of Dhara series. Originally, they were published separately as 5 separate little novellas. And then they were recently, this year, re-released in this big omnibus version. Now, just a quick little background story. I had actually started collecting the little individual copies of this series. I guess they're calling these books a novella. Sorry about the glare there. Anyway, I had originally started collecting these, and then earlier this year, this publicity company, K Publicity, I can link them down below just so you have the information, reached out to me, asked if I wanted a copy of this book to review, and of course I was like, heck yes, because I am a huge Terry Goodkind fan. Now, that being said, I'm going to be talking about 3 main things: characters, the world building, and the plot. I will be putting chapter times in the description box below in case you want to jump to a particular section, but I am going to start off and jump in and start talking a little bit about world building. Because here's the thing about Children of Dhara. This is not a book that just anyone can jump into, and I will show you why in a second. But there are 16 if you include the prequel, previous books that are in this particular series. I don't know if you can see that in the glare, but basically everything on this side. And those are just the stories featuring like the main characters in here. There's even more that are based on side characters. So if you have not read those 16 books, then there's just a lot of world building and lore that you're going to miss out on. So the basic setup is that we have 2 main characters, Lord Richard Rahl, and Kaylin Amnell, who is what's known as a confessor. Basically, Richard is a wizard, like he can do magic. He's also known in this world as the Seeker of Truth. He has a magical sword, and he's kind of like a king, basically, in this world. And then his wife, Kaylin, is a confessor, and she basically has the power to take over someone's soul and make them bend to her will. So, for example, if I was a confessor, I could go over to, let's say Thanos over here, and if I used my confessor power on him, he would have to do whatever I told him. He would answer whatever questions I asked truthfully, and if I told him to kill himself, he would. So, in other words, confessors are very badass. But Richard and Kaylin have been through a lot through the past, like I said, 16 books. Really crazy. And in this series, in this story, there are callbacks to characters, world building, even specific plot points from the very first book. Wizard's First Rule is the first book that Terry Goodkind wrote in the Sword of Truth series, kind of, introducing Richard and Kaylin and started them on their epic quest. There are things in here that call all the way back to that. So if you have not read Wizard's First Rule and the 16 books that follow, you're not gonna know like what's going on in a few parts in this book. There are some things that you can absolutely pick up on, like there are the main villain. There's a couple different villains throughout the series, but one of them is a goddess from another world. And because this is a new entity, a new character, you don't really have to have any previous knowledge to understand the circumstances of her arriving, especially because she comes from another world. But again, understanding what it means for someone to arrive from another world is not something that really makes a lot of sense unless you've read the previous books. So if you can't tell, because I've repeated it a bunch of times, you really have to read the previous books to understand the world building, characters, and plot that's going on. But specifically when it comes to the world building, because there is so much lore and so much history and so much context that you will lose if you have not read those previous books. So now I'm going to jump in and talk about our characters. Now, again, because I've read all these 15, 16 books, plus all the other stuff, I'm a huge Terry Goodkind fan. I love Richard and Kaylin, our main characters. Kaylin is one of my favorite female characters, like, ever. She's definitely in the top 5, if not top 3. Not only because of, like, how cool and badass her power is, but the fact that she's definitely one of those female characters that doesn't need to be saved. She can save herself. She's also incredibly kind, a kind-hearted person, like a good person. And yeah, she's just an all-around great, awesome character. I love her. Love her more than Richard. And then there's also these characters in the sort of truth world called the witchsoath. And they're basically this group, clan of women who are kind of their version of like these badass warriors. They are raised from young girls to basically like torture, kill people, hunt people down. They can hold people on the brink of death for like as long as they want. Total badass women. And I love seeing them return here. So between Richard, Kaylin, and the witchsoath, those are kind of like the main characters in this series that are carried over from the previous books. Now, there are a few cameos and appearances by other characters from the previous 15 books that have some small roles. One of them has a big role in particular, but I can't really talk about it without giving away spoilers. But again, if you've read any of the previous books, there is one name that should pop into your head while you're reading this, and if that name pops into your head, you're going to see them later on in this book. Now, there's also a couple new characters that appear here. And without really, again, going into spoilers, I do feel that a lot of the new characters are not as fleshed out as our old characters, which is kind of understandable because we have new characters that are just in these 5 novellas that are being compared to characters that we've spent 15, 16 books with. I mean, you really can't compare the two. So in my opinion, I found a lot of the new characters to be kind of annoying at times. They questioned a lot of things that me as a reader that's familiar with everything already knows. And I guess those parts were there and those questions were asked to, you know, help people that may not be as familiar with this series and these characters. But as someone who is really familiar with it, I found those parts really kind of frustrating and could have done without them. But I understand, you know, new series, you want to add in some new characters. And again, they weren't all bad. It's just there was a couple in particular. Okay, so there's this one named Shale. She is a witch woman / sorceress. And at first, I liked her character, but as the series went on, I just found her kind of annoying and wanted her to go away. But there were some new witchsoath character, like I said, the cool, badass fighting women. Those characters I really liked. So now I'm going to move on and talk about the plot. So the plot of this short story, these 5 novella series, like I said, on one hand, we have a golden goddess, a goddess from another world who's trying to kill Richard and Kaylin and kill everyone, take over the world. And then there's also kind of a subplot, a sub-story about a witch who is trying to kill Richard and Kaylin's children. I mean, the children of Dhara, it's called, yeah. So Richard and Caitlyn's children are at risk from kind of two different sources. One goddess from another world, one witch from their world. And what they have to go through to kind of handle each of these threats is very, very interesting. There's one part in particular, kind of in the middle, where things take like a really dark turn, like really dark, in terms of like just kind of violent and like gory and just really dark. And I really liked that part. I thought that part was super fun, like super creepy, super dark. I guess I'm just really liking dark stuff right now, because if you saw my Poppy War review or discussion, Dragon Republic, I'm really into dark fantasy right now. So yeah, that's all I can really say about the plot without going into too many spoilers. But one thing I do want to mention really quick is that I do think that the plot did not move as quickly as it could have. Because, like I said, there were some characters who were constantly asking questions. There's like entire chapters where the characters are just kind of talking to each other about the decisions that are being made. Now, to be fair, Terry Goodkind has always been a little bit heavy-handed with dialogue. It's nothing new for him. And most of the time, I don't mind it. Like, I'm used to it. I'm used to his style of writing. But it was even a little much for me in some times. Like, there's literally chapters in here, again, short chapters, but entire chapters where our main character, Richard, has a crazy idea, and the whole chapter is the characters discussing why Richard has crazy ideas. So I could have done with editing some of that stuff out, because I think it would have helped the plot move along faster. But at the end of the day, I'm still a Terry Goodkind fan. I'm still a Sword of Truth fan. I'm still a fan of all these books. I love these characters. So I am kind of biased. Like I said, there were a few things that I could have done without, but I still really loved it. And this book is kind of bittersweet for me because, sadly, if you're not aware, Terry Goodkind did pass away last year in 2020. I think it was towards the end of the summer. So that means that, you know, we're not going to get any more books from him. I don't know if he left any notes behind for any future stories, but knowing that this really is the end, at least for now, it's really sad. Bittersweet, like I said. So anyway, those are my non-spoiler thoughts on the Children of Dhara series. Sorry about the glare here. It's the cover of this book. Super shiny. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. I do new videos every Sunday, new reviews on Wednesdays, and sometimes videos on Friday. All right, happy reading. End credit scene with Meepers. Hey, Meepers. Oh, who's such a sweet girl? Meepers, you act so sweet on camera. No one has any idea how crazy you are. You want to say hi to everyone? Say hi. Whoop. Bye.